flank areas, which are part of this country, and actually constitute over 70% of the Kenya landmass, had been marginalized for far too long, with no water, with no electricity, with no good roads, no hospitals, and they were surviving, while the rest of the country were living large and living well, Madam Speaker. When this equalization fund came, it gave hope to Kenyans from those areas that will be remembered, and they will catch up with the rest of the country. However, Madam Speaker, just like devolution, we have to make sure that we follow it up so that it doesn't miss the point, so that we don't inherit corruption through this fund, Madam Speaker, so that we don't inherit misappropriation through this fund, because devolution has failed to attain the main goal which they intended to do because of misappropriation, mismanagement, and corruption. And now, as we speak, for the last almost 12 years or 13 years in devolution, you rarely see a project done by the devolution. And while yet, there's a lot of money which are appropriated to these counties. Equalization fund equally risk going the same line because of management and oversight. Madam Speaker, I support this bill because, and I support Senate for this, because if we don't follow up with a strong oversight and to know where this fund lies, either in county or in national, and it should be fully, for it to have a very clear oversight, we'll end up losing the achievement which this fund will have given to this nation. Madam Speaker, as it is at the moment, you cannot tell whether it is fully in county, devolved, or whether it is in national, making it very difficult to oversight because it's almost a 50-50 kind of sharing between the national and the county government, making it hard. Is it MCA to oversight? Is it member of parliament? Or is it senator? Coming with this, now with the Equalization Advisory Board, it can be now clear in following up and the records and the books and everything of this equalization, it will be able to achieve the intended purpose. And my prayer is that this equalization fund should have a very lean team, just like NGCDF, so that less than 8% of it goes to the administration. The rest, 92%, should go to development so that we're able to see tangible development and we're able to see fast-track development. Secondly, Madam Speaker, in terms of CRA, identifying areas to benefit from equalization, at times we get a place more marginalized, not being able to be enlisted in the areas, in the locations, and in the areas and wards to benefit from equalization, while some areas are a bit under-deserving and they are not picked by CRA. So as we work on this board, we should also work on a clear, fair formula through CRA that our colleagues in Senate should help us, so that the picking of the areas we should be beneficiary of this equalization fund should be fair and beyond reproach, not because should not be done without proper equity, because it end up not achieving the same purpose and intention which was supposed to achieve through this equalization fund. And through our colleagues in Senate and National Assembly, we have to make sure that the formula for CRA, for maybe fourth or fifth policy, should be fair, transparent, in a manner that all areas which are marginalized are enlisted in the list of the areas to benefit. As we work on this board, which will be able to run this fund and will be a clear path of oversight so that we're able to move forward. It is my prayer that all areas are covered, because in some areas, I come from Baringo, in some areas which are under-deserving don't benefit from this fund. Some areas which are still deserving, or an area which you know the level of marginalization is the same. One area gets, the other one doesn't get. It is something that we should work through this CRA formula and with our colleagues in Senate, so that we are able to make it fair and equitable to every part of this nation which are marginalized and which have been marginalized for far too long, especially the pastoralist part of this country, which was left behind for many years. Madam Speaker, and as I say this, allow me to pay tribute to a great man who was a great believer of this bill, a senator, a great man, amiable man, very humble man, very kind-hearted human being, a true Christian, a believer, a son of the soil, son of the great Baringo, a man, William Kipkiror Cheptumo. He believed in this bill. With him I have discussed about this bill and the relationship between National Assembly and Senate for many times. And he was a believer that this will be a game changer to the areas that we come from, which has been marginalized for far too long. Especially as Madam Speaker, who come from Baringo. We have two kinds of marginalization. One is the marginalization by nature and by previous governments and, and whatever it happened. Two is what we call post-President Daniel Moi marginalization, where everyone tells you come from Baringo, you don't deserve anything, you got it during Moi time. As if problems are not evolving. As if every other day it comes with new challenges. So, Madam Speaker, a great man called William Kipkiror Cheptumo, we lost a son of the soil. A good human being by excellence. A good believer of devolution, equalization, and nationhood. He believed in a project called Kenya, just like our President William Ruto. He was an advocate of social justice. He was an advocate of development. William Kipkiror Cheptumo was a good listener. He was a good advisor and a counselor to many of us young people. He was a mentor to many of us. He took us, when we were elected into this house, William Kipkiror Cheptumo took his time to advise us, being a senior. He will call us and with authority reminds us that he's an elder and he's a ranking member, and whatever he says, whatever he says, he's saying out of authority. One thing that Cheptumo will tell us, and will tell me personally, is that work for the people. Just work for the people. Don't mind about election. When you work for the people, people will re-elect you. When you don't work for the people, you will not be re-elected. So it will remind me every other time, don't even bother yourself thinking about 2027, think about development, because a total sum of what you do now will be judged when it comes to election time. He will tell us to always devote ourselves and our energy to serving our people and to serving this nation and to believe in this project called Kenya. He was a nationalist. He was never a tribalist. He was never someone who would look down upon people, given that he was a much elder person than us. He never dismissed us based on age. He was not an ageist. He was not someone who would look down upon you because he was more older than us, but he was someone who comforted us with his wisdom, with his experience. And he did a lot of development in Baringo while he was member of parliament Baringo North. He did tarmacs, he did roads, he did many other things. While he was senator, he was a unifying factor in my county for Baringo. He was a person who will sit all of us down and, chant away and bring a formula on how to make Baringo a better county and make this nation a better country. So we want to pray with the people of Baringo. We want to pray with the people, the family of William Cheptumo. Pray with the people of Baringo North from Tunoyua, where he was born, and the entire Baringo North, the people of Baringo, the people of Kenya, and the senators who worked closely with Cheptumo. May God comfort them at this difficult time. They lost a great man. And we also lost a great father and a brother and a senior to us. So we want to pray with his family and also take this opportunity, because in the same breath, to also pray with the family of Malulu Njendi, Honorable Malulu Njendi, a good man, a gentleman by excellence. He will always sit here. He was also equally ready to give us wisdom, to always advise us, and he was very passionate about his bill on the salaries for the village elders, which you always push in this house. So, Madam Speaker, I want to thank you, and I want to tell you this equalization fund is the best fund to ever happen to this country. However, it should be followed up with a serious oversight, not to be misappropriated or to be corrupted by corrupt individuals who want to enrich themselves at the expense of this country. Thank you, Madam Speaker. God bless Kenya. God bless Baringo. God bless.
Honorable members, before we proceed, I'd like to recognize the presence of Elbagon DBE Secondary School from Molo constituency, Nakuru County. And I'll give an opportunity to the Honorable Member for Molo constituency, Honorable Kimani Kuria, to welcome them on our behalf.
And make it brief. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you very much for giving this opportunity. I take this chance to welcome the great students of Elbagon Secondary School into this, to observe these proceedings, and to tell them when they go back home to work very, very hard. Elbagon Secondary School, coincidentally, is where my mom went to school. It's also one of our best extra county schools in Nakuru County. They did very, very well, and we congratulate them, and I know that this group will even make us more proud. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Lagdera, Honorable Abdikadir Mohammed, and thank you very much for indulging your colleague.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this bill, the Equalization Fund Administration Bill. Madam Speaker, as it is now, Equalization Fund is administered by a regulation. A regulation, by the time it was done by people who had counties in mind, because they're given very many roles to the counties. And the role they give to the counties is such important that nothing can move without them. Therefore, it's like they had counties in mind. They brought this regulation. They wanted to hand over this, the fund to the counties, and it has, in fact, and if you look at it, 14 years after our constitution, nothing is on the ground. Nothing done by Equalization Fund. After 70 billion shillings, if you go to my constituency, you will not even see a single toilet done through Equalization Fund. But the money has been utilized. So we can ask ourselves, where is this money going to? Where has it gone to? Secondly, Madam Speaker, I have a problem with the way marginalization areas is being defined by this bill. It's like marginalization areas is a moving target. Such that today you might be in marginalized area, tomorrow you are not there, because it's done based on policies. And the previous policies have moved the fund, the marginalized counties from 14 to 34 currently. When you see some small pockets of areas which have been developed by session paper number 10, being now called marginalized. They are now eaten into the fund, which was meant for areas which are marginalized. So, I think we must have parameters on how to define marginalized areas. They must put parameters.